go to the hotline and let's go down to Alvin, Texas, where the Manvel Mavericks have a new head coach. We are joined by the new chief of Hoka Hey. It is Coach Kevin Hall. Coach, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are y'all?
Excellent. How are things in beautiful Alvin, Texas?
They are great. They are great. The kids are working hard and getting after it.
You take over this job from Kirk Martin, who leaves to go take a job at Syracuse. Obviously, this is a high-profile job. A lot of people interested in taking the reins of this program. You were the defensive coordinator, got promoted to head coach. What did it mean to you? What was your reaction whenever you found out that it was going to be your gig?
Well, it was a funny story. This all happened in about a 36-hour period with Kirk leaving, and he came and talked to me that morning and said he was resigned, taking another job, and I was just stunned. I mean, I had no idea, and he was going to Syracuse, and he said, I'm recommending you, and I thought I was going to come down here and coach with a great friend of mine for a few years, and then right off in the sunset. I had no idea this was going to come about this way, but it's a great coaching staff, great kids, and we didn't want this thing blown up, and the superintendent and the principal and the district athletic director agreed, and so here I am, and it wasn't expected. I'm unbelievably humbled. I'm following a guy that's just as fine a man and a coach as I've ever known, and it's been a little weird, honestly, sitting in his office. I won't lie to you, but anyway, we're working hard and excited about next season.
I'm interested in what you told your kids. When you take over this program, that you mentioned Coach Martin. He's such a beloved figure down there. You are a familiar face as well. It's a guy that that these kids know. When it became official and you got announced and you had an opportunity to address your team, what did you tell them about what was going to change or maybe what wasn't going to change?
Well, I told them, I said the tradition is here. I said, Coach Martin and this awesome football staff built this tradition. I said, you got great players that have come before you. You're great players, and you'll have great players coming after you. And it's my responsibility, along with these other guys along the back wall. And I pointed to those guys. I said, this is not me. This is us. Nobody's smarter than all of us. It takes a village to raise a program. And I said, we're going to continue the things we're doing. I said, we're going to also continue to try to improve everything, the little things, taking care of the locker room, being on time, making sure your schoolwork's done on time. Little things like that. Being great's a bunch of little things done right. And they were excited, and I told them Hoka Hey, and we ran in the weight room and started lifting.
That's a good way to start, and this is a program that over the past since 2010, it's won 100 games, 114, 6 district titles, 2 title game appearances. How do you handle? Call them expectations, call it pressure. How do you handle what comes with this job of taking over such a high-profile position?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm a Christian, and sometimes I'm not as good a Christian as I ought to be, but I can assure you, when you take over a program like this, you find yourself asking God for guidance and wisdom, because it is a job that people demand winning. And here's the deal: if you're not at a place that doesn't demand winning and expect winning, you need to find somewhere else to go. We've got 3 starters coming back from next year. We lost 48 lettermen and have 21 coming back. I mean, we lost a load, but that just means that next man up. Mm-hmm. We've got a bunch of kids that have got to put their big boy shorts on and get after it. And so far they're doing it. I mean, they're working hard when we're in the weight room. They're working hard when we go out on the field, because they have the same expectations as the people around here.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Coach. We're talking with Kevin Hall, the new head coach of the Manvel Mavericks here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation. #TF Today. Coach, you were talking about that that was an outstanding senior class that leaves just three starters back offensively, or rather for the entire team. So where do you start? What's priority one for you as far as helping to rebuild this squad into what people have come to expect from Manvel?
Priority one is to get in the weight room and get stronger, which we've been doing, and the kids are doing a really good job of it. Priority two is getting the coaching staff situated with exactly what we're going to do offensively and defensively. We're bringing in two guys, one on each side of the ball. Based on our personnel that we have coming back next year, we're going to have to tweak some things. You don't put a square peg in a round hole. We've got three really good running backs, and we're going to run the football. Don't be mistaken. We're going to throw the football, but when you got three backs, you got to find ways to get them on the field at the same time. And so that's just one example of something that we're doing right now to get prepared for next season and what we have coming back personnel-wise.
You mentioned three running backs. One of the guys is Garrison Johnson, a real physical, tough runner. Maybe the Thunder, if there's thunder and lightning there down in Manvel. What can you tell us about this young man?
I tell you what, I'm glad I'm not playing across the line from him. He's a load. I mean, he's unique in the fact that not only is he very physical, he's got really good speed. You don't think a kid that's that thick can run and move like he does until you watch him on film and you're like, wow, I didn't know he could do all that. He is. Yesterday he power cleaned 315 in the weight room, and that's impressive at any level of football for a running back. And so, yes, he's a guy we're going to lean on, and we have several others that are going to step up and help also.
Defensively, one of the guys, as you guys mentioned, you guys are really rebuilding, just two starters back defensively, but one guy you've got coming back that I know you're excited about is Corey Roberson. Big defensive end, just a monster out there with a real great motor. As the guy who gets to see him every day in practice, every day in the weight room, you're a defensive coordinator. What can you tell us about young Corey Roberson?
Corey is a special young man. He's got lots of talent. God helped him out. I tell him all the time he gets his athleticism from his mama's side of the family. I know his mom real well, and she's a sweetheart. He's big, he's fast, he's physical, he's got a great motor. He's got all the tools that you want. He's smart. He really came on this year. He was on the varsity as a sophomore, but didn't play a ton. This year, he obviously started for us, and you could see when the light bulb came on. It was in about week 4 or 5, and at that point, I thought, oh, my goodness, I am so glad he plays for us. But he's a special kid, the sky's the limit for him.
Realignment has come and gone. You guys get a shakeup because of the 5A split, dropping down to 5A Division II. You can't seem to shake Fort Bend Marshall as much as you like, but you're going to add teams like Houston, Waltrip, Madison, Sterling gets in the mix as well. When you take a look at what you're going to be facing in District 11 5A Division II, what are your overall thoughts?
Well, you mentioned Marshall. Marshall is a great program. Their head coach was at Manvel years ago, went over there and started, really built that program to what it is today, and he's to be commended for that. They've got everybody back, basically. They're extremely fast, extremely athletic, just a really good football team. They, like us, had a chance to win a state championship this year, and came up short. But, when I look at this district, I just think of athleticism. There's a ton of athletes in this district, and big kids, physical kids. People were saying, well, hey, you're dropping down to Division II. You must like that. And I'm like, there's really not a difference between 5A, Division I, and Division II in our region. I mean, you're talking about teams like Nederland, Port Neches Groves, Crosby, Barbers Hill. I mean, I could go on and on about the Division II schools in here. I mean, it didn't do us a favor just because we went down to Division II. I can assure you that.
Yeah, that certainly seems to be a case. It seems pretty loaded down there in Region 3. And Coach, I know you're very busy. Want to make sure you get your kids back in the weight room, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the last time we saw your squad on the, let's say, the wrong side of one of the most memorable high school football games of all time. The state championship game with Highland Park. I'm interested in how much of a topic that is around the Manvel Fieldhouse. Is that a point where you guys say, do you bring it up a lot as a form of motivation, or is it let bygones be bygones?
We don't really bring it up much. I mean, I don't think anybody pouted more for the weeks after the game than me. I mean, you give up 14 points all year long in a game, and you give up 28 points in the fourth quarter of a state championship game, and you lose. I mean, we ran out of gas, and it is what it is. And I told my head coach, I told Kurt, I said, I will take the blame for this forever. I will never get over that game. I'll move past it, but we had one of our secondary players. It's a real good player. Was basically playing on one leg, and Highland Park didn't give up. That quarterback was just phenomenal, and we got gassed, and they took advantage of it, and we lost. But the bottom line is, when you score 49 points and lose, it's a defensive coordinator's fault, and I will blame myself that forever. And it's like I told my wife. I said, when this whole thing came about, me coming to Manvel, I said, I think God's got a sense of humor, because when I left the stadium that night, I didn't know if I was ever going to coach again. I didn't know if I ever going to walk out on a football field again. And I think God said, you know what, you need to quit pouting, and you need to quit feeling sorry for yourself, and you need to try to get your team back there to Cowboy Stadium again and win it. And so that's what we're doing right now. We're working hard, and we're trying to do what a lot of people think we don't have a chance to do this next year, because we lost a lot of kids. But hey, we got kids that are working hard, and we look forward to the challenge.
You doubt Manvel at your own peril. We have learned over the course of many years, and their new coach, Coach Kevin Hall. Coach, appreciate your time. Congratulations on the new gig. Best of luck in the off season and down the road.
Thank you. Y'all do a great job, and I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Hoka Hey.
All righty, there he goes, Kevin Hall, head coach, Manvel Mavericks. You don't want to twist a knife,
No,
but
it's tough.
I gotta know. I gotta know how often that gets brought up around there.
Yeah,
because
got to figure out
how they use that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's two ways to do it. There's one way to say, we're gonna watch this every game. We're gonna put it up on our wall, and we're gonna use this as motivation.
Yeah.
Or you say, it's done, it's dusted. There's nothing we can do about it. Let's move on.
Yeah, and I think it's. I also think it's funny. I can appreciate owning up to feeling your sense of responsibility for the loss. I don't know. As someone who was there, I felt like Manvel in a lot of situations had a lot of things covered, and John Stephen Jones just made a football play. Or some other player on Highland Park would make a play, and it's a hard game to point at and go, well, obviously you give up that many points, that's a defensive fault. I don't know. Maybe on some of those plays, maybe there's certain drives you feel like you had everything solved. But, Lord, I don't think I've seen more players just make plays in tough situations with low odds than I did in that game. That's why it's an instant classic.
I totally agree, and I think Coach Hall is being hard on himself, if I may editorialize.
Yeah.
If you want me to point to one thing that I look back on that game as the decisive factor,
right?
Do you know how long Highland Park had the ball? They had the ball for more than 32 minutes of a 48-minute game.
Yeah.
So, yes, his defense was gassed, but that's because their offense was scoring so quickly.
Yeah.
And so, look, he can blame himself, and I can appreciate a guy owning up to his part of the responsibility. But I think anybody who's putting it entirely on him is is misguided in my opinion.
I would agree.
But I appreciate Coach Kevin Hall hopping on with us. Excited to see what they do. They are hitting the reset button.
I think moving out of D2 will be interesting.
3 starters back, but some playmakers.
Manvel always has players.
Always got players. Don't worry about Hoka Hey. They're going to be just fine. We appreciate Coach Kevin Hall.